Welcome to English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We'll begin with the headlines. Rwanda's representative to the United Nations, Martin Goga, has rejected allegations accusing Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC, saying that these accusations are baseless and biased. As only a few weeks remain before the Africa Food Systems Forum take place in Dakar, Senegal, Rwandan youth preparing to attend say agriculture is full of investment opportunities. And on the international scene, Pakistan is grappling with severe floods once again, sparking urgent concerns over the nation's readiness to handle climate-related disasters. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. My name is Olympe. Now let's kick off today's edition. We'll begin with this communique from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Response to Human Rights Watch claims of civilian killings in Binza in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The government of Rwanda firmly rejects the findings of Human Rights Watch, Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the UN Joint Human Rights Office, alleging mass killing of civilians in Binza, Rutshuru territory of the Democratic Republic of Congo by M23, supported by the Rwanda Defense Force. The sensational accusations of Human Rights Watch was just like those of the UNGHRO and OHCHR, have no basis in fact and lack any evidence. Human Rights Watch itself admits that it did not independently verify the alleged killings of Hutu civilians over a period of almost 2 weeks. These salacious claims, which raise more questions than answers, are not the result of any credible investigation. Rather, they have been hastily released through leaks to media in an attempt to entrench a predetermined narrative. Only an independent investigation will shed light on these allegations. Human Rights Watch has a long history of impossible claims against Rwanda, often at moments of political significance. Currently, when parties to the conflict in the DRC are preparing to go back to negotiations and in the midst of implementing decisions of the 27th June 2025 peace agreement, including the neutralization of the DRC-backed FDLR, genocidal militia, the main source of conflict, violence and abuses in the eastern DRC. Despite the lack of good faith and obstructionist attitude of these non-state actors, Rwanda remains focused on working towards a peaceful, secure and prosperous Great Lakes region, including through the Washington, D.C. peace agreement and support of the Doha process. Now, moving ahead, Rwanda's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations, Martin Goga, has rejected allegations accusing Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC, describing these allegations as unfounded and biased. We have more on this story. Ambassador Martin Goga, Rwanda's representative to the United Nations, first reminded members of the UN Security Council that Rwanda supports the recent peace agreements signed by different parties aimed at finding a solution to the insecurity in the eastern DRC.
Rwanda reiterates its full support to the ongoing peace efforts, especially the Washington and the Doha tracks. Achieving durable peace requires commitment and constructive engagement from all parties. We thank the government of the United States of America, the government of Qatar, and the regional leaders for their tremendous efforts in this regard.
He also emphasized that peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo is very important for Rwanda because whenever insecurity persists in the eastern DRC, it also has consequences on Rwanda. On the allegations accusing Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC and of involvement in the killing of civilians in Rutshuru territory, Ambassador Ngoga stressed that these accusations have no foundation since those who wrote the report did not provide concrete evidence, but rather presented a one-sided narrative.
The report says the information was given by phone and satellite. Was the verification of ethnicity also established by phone and satellite? The Council is falling in the trap of the ideology of further ethnicizing the situation in the eastern DRC.
Rwanda's representative to the United Nations also reiterated that Rwanda is ready to support an impartial investigation into these allegations so that the truth can come to light. He strongly criticized the latest report from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Office, pointing out that it is contradictory for them to claim they have video and photographic evidence of the killings in Rutshuru, while also specifying the ethnicity of the alleged victims mentioned in the report.
Is it for lack of evidence that this group is backed by FDL, by the Kinshasa government? I know you have a working methodology in the council where you adopt a language, but is there no objective criteria to adopt a language? Do you lack evidence, even within your own reports, that Kinshasa government backs FDL? Why don't you want to present it for what it is?
The United Nations Security Council was held on Friday to look into the situation in the eastern DRC. It was convened by the United States with the aim of getting clarity on the continued insecurity in the region following the recent killings of civilians in Rutshuru territory in the North Kivu province.
Moving ahead to the agriculture sector, as only a few weeks remain before the Africa Food Systems Forum takes place in Dakar, Senegal, Rwandan youth preparing to attend say agriculture is full of investment opportunities and job creation potential. They also commend the government of Rwanda for its continuous efforts to promote the agricultural sector. We have details.
In the sector government district, the government's Sustainable Agriculture Intensification and Food Security Project has developed irrigated farmland to boost food security and household income. On this site, Grace Niyitanga saw her chance, starting with 1.5 million Rwandan francs to lease land. She made 7 million in her first season. The profit enabled her to set up 4 greenhouses, raising her total investment to 30 million. Each greenhouse now generates about 8 million Rwandan francs per person, with chili, tomatoes, bell peppers and cucumbers as her main crops. Her success earned her a place among Rwanda's representatives at the forum in Dakar, running from September 1st to 5th, 2025. In Hyogo sector, Muhanga district, Christian Irakoze has built a thriving strawberry farm since 2022. Just 3 kilometers from the main road, his 9 greenhouses employ 28 permanent workers and rely on modern irrigation technology.
I think the fact of the matter is you have to first be open-minded, and even with agriculture, it's a broad term that encompasses many different fields. So there's chemistry involved. There's an element of electrical engineering involved. So whatever your domain is, there's business and finance involved. Whatever your domain is, agriculture is a broad field that whatever skill you have, you can apply it within that particular context. So for me, it was very interesting because it encompassed so many different fields in one. So if you go with that kind of perspective, you will find that it opens many different doors, and you can even, if you're specialized in one particular field, you're able to apply your skills there.
His venture is projected to generate up to 240 million Rwandan francs annually. Irakoze credits government support as crucial in turning his idea into a viable agribusiness.
The Africa food system is also a great opportunity to see what's happening on the continent in terms of agriculture, to make connections and to learn. Because sometimes, even as an entrepreneur, you can be stuck in your own world, but it's always good to hear and see the perspective of what's happening around you, or just get an overall view and explore different options, meet new people, and maybe there's some people who are able to secure markets, secure funding. All of those are opportunities that are exciting.
Across Africa, experts emphasize the central role of youth in reshaping food systems. Alice Ruhweza, Managing Director of AGRA, describes young people as a driving force for change. Similarly, Ambassador Albert Muchanga, African Union Commissioner for Trade and Industry, underlines the need for stronger public investment in agriculture to feed the continent's fast-growing population.
If we make the sector more productive and growth, it can create jobs. That's one. But there's also where you have to be very intentional. How do you really put money in the hands of youth to go out there and start their own businesses? And whether it's horticulture, whether it's and do that. And then there's the secondary ones where you can fund someone and then someone creates jobs. I think what we're seeing is there is interest from the youth. And you don't have to only look at production. You can look at processing, you can look at export zones. You have to look at the whole gamut of the system. We're seeing a lot of investment innovation here. I don't think all of us have figured it out yet, but it's a great journey and we're very excited about this engagement. I mean, this continent is the youngest continent, 70% under the age of 22, isn't it?
It is very, very key. And there are a number of elements of the financing question. What we need to do as the public sector to unlock those resources. And through that, we should be able to mobilize private sector financing into agriculture. And
the Africa Food Systems Forum will gather government leaders, researchers, investors, and youth innovators from across the continent. Rwanda will be represented by 17 young entrepreneurs whose creativity and determination in agriculture have positioned them among Africa's most promising change makers.
Now to the health sector, pediatricians from across Africa say separating newborns from their mothers, particularly those born with complications and placed in incubators, together with the absence of centralized emergency services, remain major drivers of neonatal and infant deaths on the continent. William Evans unpacks.
The concerns were raised in Kigali during a 3-day conference that brought together specialists from 30 African countries under the Association of Neonatal and Pediatric Specialists. Participants noted that many infants in Africa die within the first month of life, often due to preventable causes, including early separation of babies from their mothers. Kenyan pediatrician Dr. Emily Njuguna and Association President Alex Stevenson were among those who underscored the urgent need for reforms.
We were mostly focusing on skin-to-skin care a few hours after baby is born. We would wrap them up and then start their care and then add on KMC later. But now we are starting KMC immediately after delivery, which has made a big difference in the survival and outcomes of especially the small babies. And this has been really useful. And then the other thing that has been really critical in this meeting is to really call out how important it is to bundle services for especially the most vulnerable babies.
Incubators and separating small babies from their mothers, even though that is what is practiced in high-income countries, is actually not the best medicine, and that we can leapfrog over that by scaling out immediate kangaroo mother care. No matter how small or preterm or sick a baby is, when they're born they go straight onto their mother's chest and they actually stay there instead of in an incubator, and that is going to greatly accelerate our progress.
Despite the challenges, experts voiced optimism that change is possible if African countries share best practices, pointing to Rwanda's success in significantly reducing child mortality as a model worth emulating.
I think one of the most exciting things that I've learned in this conference is how fast Rwanda has made progress and dropped its neonatal mortality to 11.3 per thousand, so that's already exceeding the SDG levels, and it's been done in a short time. And that has been inspirational to me, and I think to many of our delegates who are going to go home and say this can be done.
We know that there are several interventions that have been proven to be useful in reducing morbidity and mortality for the vulnerable newborns. But instead of implementing in silo, one project here, what we are now pushing for is bundling of care. So we would take kangaroo mother care, we would take infection prevention, we would take nutrition, and put all those interventions in one package that can be delivered in the health system.
According to Dr. Jean-Baptiste Nkuranga, a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at King Faisal Hospital, While progress has been made, it is proof that much more remains to be achieved.
We focused on basic things that we need to improve, on basic things that we need to do better so that we can improve. You have had the concept of kangaroo mother care. That means minimizing separation of the baby and the mother once the baby is born, and encouraging the parents, supporting the parents, the families, and other family members to hold the baby on their skin, to keep the baby on their skin as much as possible. That is one intervention that has proven beyond reasonable doubt that it's very essential and to contribute to reducing neonatal mortality. And therefore, this conference was to highlight those basic things that do not need much of resources but can still help us as Rwandans and the health system to reduce the neonatal mortality. We have the capacity to do even more and to achieve the more ambitious goals we are taking. So it's a sign and a message of possibilities. So it just tells us that we are capable, and we should seize that opportunity to continue pushing the need of reducing neonatal mortality even lower to the levels that we would wish to have.
This was the first continent-wide gathering of neonatal and pediatric specialists held at a time when statistics show that Africa loses more than 1 million newborns every year. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
Now to the education sector. To improve the quality of education in technology-related fields, several Rwandan universities are expanding partnerships with private companies and industries. The goal is to provide students with opportunities for internships and practical training, ensuring that classroom knowledge can be effectively applied in the workplace. We have details.
Christian Ibishimishije, a technology student at Mount Kigali University, says that without hands-on practice through internships, it is difficult for students to translate theoretical lessons into real professional skills. He and his peers believe it is essential for universities to formalize collaborations with companies across different sectors so that students can continue sharpening their expertise. According to Dr. Martin Kimemia, the Vice-Chancellor of Mount Kigali University, the institution has already signed a partnership agreement with Spiro, a company that manufactures electric motorcycles. Through this collaboration, students gain access to internships and, in some cases, direct employment opportunities.
The agreement we have signed today allows us to buy bikes and staff and also students at a very discounted price, and as a result it will be of benefits to our students. Some of our students come from far, and if one gets a bike and you know this is electrical, at the end of the day you can see the fuel cost minimum at the end of the day is kind of this is electrical. It's a matter of charging and getting motored. So it will come in handy to make our students very motored into the institution and then going home, going to their clinical rotations in nursing, going to their attachments, going all over. So that mobility aspect to us is very important.
The electric bikes that we are producing out of Rwanda, these are made by local community, and this is just the start. So this partnership is therefore going to be an exchange of ideas, exchange of students coming and working with us, on-job training, and we will contribute to the development of the curriculum.
Earlier this year, the Ministry of Education also announced new agreements with organizations such as the Rwanda Energy Group, the Water and Sanitation Corporation, and Inyange Industries. These partnerships aim to prepare students for the future by offering practical experience and exposure to real workplace environments.
Now moving ahead, residents of Rwimiyaga sector near the Akagera River say that reforestation efforts over the past decade have started to show positive environmental changes, including the return of diverse plant and animal species. According to the Rwanda Forestry Authority, within the next 10 years, native trees are expected to outnumber foreign species, around
the country. Along the Akagera River, one can already find native tree species surrounding hillsides, including areas near local landmarks have also been replanted with various indigenous species. Vegetation is gradually returning, with grasses and other plants reclaiming previously barren areas. Locals note that these species were once rare in the region. The Nyagatare district authorities report that over 620 hectares along the Akagera River basin have now been planted with a variety of native trees. Residents welcome the initiative, noting that it also encouraged the return of wildlife and restored local biodiversity. Research shows that native trees are resilient to climate fluctuations, resist pests and diseases, and play a key role in environmental protection and biodiversity conservation. Dr. Concorde Sengumuremyi, the Director General of the Rwanda Forestry Authority, says the goal is for native species to surpass foreign species nationwide within the next 10 years.
It is a step we need to make forward without backsliding. As we increase the percentage of trees we plant each year, we will move from 30% indigenous trees to at least 35%. In the next 10 years, we should see indigenous trees growing in large numbers across various parts of the country compared to other species. Preserving indigenous trees is essential for safeguarding our future and that of our offspring.
It's always a pleasure, dear viewers, to have you on board. Let's take a short break and then we'll come back on the international page.
Every journey has a beginning. From nature comes refreshing fruity goodness that keeps you going every day. With every pack complementing life's best moments. Not one, not two, but 5 different fruity flavors. And this journey keeps giving. Introducing Inyange's new fruity juice flavors, guava and cocktail. Now available at your nearest shop. Always ask for Inyange.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byaragiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abahomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Get ready for one of the biggest celebrations of the year. It's the 20th edition of Rwanda's iconic Kwitizina Gorilla Naming Ceremony, happening on Friday, September 5th, 2025, at the breathtaking foothills of Volcanoes National Park. Join thousands of guests, local communities, and international visitors as we honor Rwanda's newest mountain gorilla babies and celebrate 2 decades of conservation success. Celebrate the vibrant spirit of Rwanda. Join us for an unforgettable festival showcasing the best of Rwandan culture with traditional dances, live performances, and much more. Experience the heart and soul of Rwanda like never before. Come witness this global event where celebrities and conservation champions unite to name Rwanda's beloved gorillas. It's an experience like no other, a true celebration of conservation and culture. Mark your calendars and get ready for a week of exciting events. Be part of the story. Be part of the future of conservation. For more details, visit www.kwitizina.rw and be part of Rwanda's conservation legacy. Kwitizina 2025, where tradition meets celebration. Don't miss it.
Cervical cancer is one of the leading causes of death among women globally.
including in Rwanda. Yet, it can be prevented through vaccination if the vaccine is taken early enough. That is why the Ministry of Health has established a program to vaccinate all girls against this cancer. The vaccine is now administered in a single dose only. It has been observed that some girls in Rwanda missed out on this vaccine, and thus a special campaign has been organized to provide the cervical cancer vaccine free of charge to girls aged 12 to 17 years who have never received it before. The campaign will run from August 4 to August 30, 2025 in all health centers across Rwanda. Don't miss this opportunity. Dear parents, vaccinate your daughter on time, remembering that protecting her health is your responsibility. This message is from the Ministry of Health through the Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC.
You're still watching RTV News. Now to matters making headlines globally. Pakistan is grappling with severe floods, once again sparking urgent concerns over the nation's readiness to handle climate-related disasters. In Swat, where communities are struggling to rebuild, critics blame inadequate planning, mismanagement, and misplaced government priorities for worsening the crisis. Al Jazeera has the details.
From the mountainous regions in the north to the Indus Delta, Pakistan has a fragile ecosystem. In 2022, Pakistan got a reality check with an unprecedented flood that inundated one-third of the country's landmass, affecting over 33 million people and causing an economic loss of over $30 billion.
I've seen many humanitarian disasters in the world, but I have never seen climate carnage on this scale.
The recent monsoon season has claimed hundreds of lives, with intense rainfall and more frequent cloudbursts. Pakistan got its wake-up call in 2022, when devastating floods killed more than 1,700 people. But it's not clear. Lessons have been learned. Officials here will tell you the situation is under control. But when you ask the people, they will tell you otherwise. Pakistan continues to allocate the bulk of its limited resources to defense, citing external threats to sovereignty. This leaves little for development, welfare, and safeguarding its growing population from existential challenges.
I think we don't even have enough money to spend on military if you compare us with our region. The point is that Pakistan faces these catastrophic disasters on its own. Even after 2020, most of the money that came to Pakistan was in shape of loans. There was no international funding that was given to Pakistan.
Pakistan's own footprint in the greenhouse gas emissions is less than 1%, but it's the 7th most vulnerable country.
The World Bank has said that Pakistan needs about $340 billion plus for adaptation, but there is no international financing available for the Global South to face climate change.
Critics and environmentalists accuse the government of tall promises, yet remain hopeful that the floods have raised public awareness about climate change and its consequences.
Before the 2010 floods, climate change was barely understood and seen as divine punishment. Today, awareness has grown and children discuss global warming, tree planting is promoted, and despite government neglect, there is hope this challenge can be overcome.
3 years on, Pakistan finds itself at the same crossroads, but will need tens of billions of dollars to build climate-resilient infrastructure and formulate sustained policies to avert future loss to mitigate the effects of global warming and climate change. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Swat, Pakistan.
Now to Russia, the number of tourists visiting this country has increased dramatically. Data shows 3 million people are making the trip to Moscow and other cities annually. Al Jazeera once more.
Tourists still flock to Moscow's Red Square.
but only a few of them are from Western countries. More and more overseas visitors are returning to Russia, and officials here say the average spend has increased as they attract more affluent visitors. After 3.5 years of war, many people from rich Gulf states are exploring Russia. They frequent the restaurants and are seen as a lifeline to many high-end shopping malls.
It's my first time here. It's a safe and beautiful city. I'll recommend it to people back home to visit, and I will definitely come back.
But the almost 500,000 Chinese tourists provide the highest boost to tourism in Russia. The numbers have grown rapidly, and many bring their own tourist guides, prompting some Russian operators to complain about unfair competition. Recent Ukrainian drone strikes in and around Moscow have not deterred them.
Of course, we heard some news in our country that a lot of people are afraid of to come here. But when we come here, and this is our second day to be this country, I think everything is great.
Even Mexico, that is where I am from, you hear about narcs and these kind of situations. So I think you need just to be in the correct places, and that's it.
The language gap is addressed by hiring more English-speaking staff and even language training for tourism police. Moscow's city government believes the number of people will continue to rise.
We have received almost 3 million international tourists, and 30% of them are coming from the Middle East. And of course, we do have some challenges related to payments, for example. But it looks like now that it's not a primary issue. People find the ways how to get around. People come with their cash.
Credit cards do not work because of sanctions on Russia, which were meant to isolate it. The government strategy has been to relax visa rules for tourists from friendly countries. Many international carriers have stopped flights, and that gap has been filled by Chinese and Gulf airlines. Saudi Arabia among the latest to begin direct flights to Russia. For the tens of thousands of people coming to the Russian capital, it is difficult to imagine that there is a war raging just a few hundred kilometers away, which has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. For them, the description of what they've been seeing in the media for Russia is quite different to the experience they have here.
The world actually right now has a very pessimistic view about Russia, and once they would visit here, they would really realize that the reality is way different than the propaganda being spread out there.
The policy to isolate Russia meant more Russians traveled domestically, and lower flight and room rates compared to European destinations have attracted more international tourists. In 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine meant almost everyone stopped coming from overseas. But now both foreign and domestic visitor numbers to Moscow continue to grow. Swami Javed, Al Jazeera, Moscow.
The story brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of the top stories that made this edition. Rwanda's representative to the United Nations, Martin Goga, has rejected allegations accusing Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC, saying that these accusations are baseless and biased. As only a few weeks remain before the Africa Food Systems Forum takes place in Dakar, Senegal, Rwandan youth preparing to attend say agriculture is full of investment opportunities. And on the international scene, Pakistan is grappling with severe floods once again, sparking urgent concerns over the nation's readiness to handle climate-related disasters. And this marks the end of tonight's bulletin. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a restful weekend ahead. Goodbye and good night.